first of all, thank Mr. Burke for coming and Mr. Evans. And we've got a pretty full agenda, so we want to move along as fast as we can. And at this time, we have a moment of silence to honor the memory of Mrs. Geraldine Gatewood Cole. She was a retired Anson County educator, taught here for many years. And I'm thinking she was the first first female African American principal.
Well, you know you made a principal, don't you?
Probably you did.
Right here.
I see it, yes.
And that school was Peace and Focus. We honor her memory, and then we will also honor the memory of those that's going through the crisis in Ukraine. So this time we have a moment of silence. Thank you.
No, Mrs. Cole, if you don't mind me just reflecting for a moment. I didn't know when I named her that she was the first female black principal. I just knew she was the best person for the job.
Okay, the first item is the approval of the agenda. Before we do that, we'll look at item 9, commissioner concerns, petitions, announcements, and comments. And I'd ask at this time if any commissioner has anything to add in that section.
I do. This is the one at the end of the meeting. I was talking, didn't hear you. The comments at the end of the meeting.
Okay. Yes.
I have some comments, and I'd like to express about trash.
Litter, without saying, okay.
Trash, litter, bottles.
Mr. Brickman?
I wanted to talk about maybe an architectural firm to do a condition assessment of the middle school to see if anything's salvageable. And then, that'd be it for now.
Okay, Commissioner Sturdy.
I want to bring up an incident that happened over in Morgan and see if we can try to help them rectify it by using some of that COVID money.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of items relative to COVID money funding.
Okay. Okay. One else. Okay, at this time we will need to approve the agenda with the addition.
I approve the agenda with the so-said addition.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner
Second.
Sturdy, seconded by Commissioner Mills. Commissioner Sims, I think I heard Commissioner Gatewood as well, to approve the agenda with the additions. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. The agenda is approved. Okay, the next thing is, in accordance with State Government Ethics Act, General Statute 138A, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any undue participation in the particular matter involved. Does anyone have a conflict? Okay, hearing none, we're good to go. Okay, item 2, the consent agenda. As you can see, it's pretty lengthy, and hopefully everybody has reviewed all the items that's here. And at this time, we would ask for the disposition of the consent agenda by the board. Need a motion? To approve, disapprove?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Sturtevant, seconded by Commissioner Smith to approve the consent agenda. Well, hold on just a minute. I guess Mr. Thomas, I think you were going to speak to item 2N, the budget amendment, is that correct?
The,
Finance, I know we have, the clerk has given us some information that, if that's not the case, then we can move on.
no, I can address that in terms of the budget amendment for finance, which was a considerable amount of money. Without getting into names, I think there are two large items there. First and foremost, there was a position that was left out of the current year budget. That it's my understanding the Board of Commissioners authorized to be put back into the budget. For whatever reason, that budget change did not occur back in August when the board approved that. And so that was caught, and now we're bringing that forward now. Another significant component of this is that interest income was overestimated based upon our trending by about $115,000. So that's another big component of this. Still not exactly sure as to why that overestimate was there, but basically this large budget amendment kind of addresses multiple issues within the finance department that are ongoing.
Thank you. Now, I will say this, if we took a look and read those, budget amendments, quite a few of them are things that were supposed to be in place that wasn't.
That's right.
Things that were there that just didn't happen, and that's the pressing need to get our finance department squared away.
I'm okay with that. My question was just more clarity when you talk about that large amount of money, just put numbers on the agenda and we approve it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
A lot of it was money that was given to us by grant or by COVID.
Okay, we have the motion by Commissioner Sturman, second by Commissioner Smith to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. It is unanimous, the consent agenda is approved. Okay, public addresses to the board, we did not have anyone sign up.
Excuse me, Chairman. Item 2F needs to be read aloud.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, sir. Thank you, Ms. Cannon. The PD Electric Corporation proclamation.
Would you like me to read it?
Yes, sir.
This is a proclamation honoring PD Electric Corporation. Whereas it is the desire of the Anson County Board of Commissioners to commend PD Electric Corporation for their many years of dedicated service to Anson County. And whereas PD Electric has constructed a new headquarters building for their corporation in Anson County near Lylesville. And whereas PD Electric assisted Anson County in acquiring their former facility in Wadesboro at a very attractive cost when they relocated to their new facility. And whereas this facility will provide a much needed new facility for the Anson County Water and Sewer Department and other county offices. And whereas this transaction will bring benefits to the citizens of Anson County for many decades to come. And whereas PD Electric is also a participant in the development of a business park in eastern Anson County near their new headquarters, which will provide new economic opportunities to the citizens of Anson County. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Anson County Board of Commissioners hereby expresses deep appreciation to the PD Electric and commends the corporation for its civic mindedness. Adopted the first day of March 2022.
Who wrote that? Who wrote our proclamation?
Ms. Cannon,
It was well done.
extremely well done.
Very good.
Always.
I didn't want to take the credit over here.
In fact, I surprised her, Dr. Sims. I called her and complimented her on it. Perfect.
Very good. When I read it, I thought, wow, this is
Yes.
good.
Well done.
I know you got nervous then.
Of me?
Okay, all right, that is a great job on the proclamation, and, PD Electric, we couldn't ask for a better corporate citizen.
We got a good bargain in that building, I think.
Absolutely. Once again, like I said, no one signed up for public addresses to the board. Item 4, appearances, we have Ms. Yvonne Burke, the interim director of the health department, to give us an update on COVID.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Our COVID numbers are decreasing, which are going down, which is great. We're all excited about that. So the current number for us is 6,507 for the beginning since COVID started. We currently have 89 active in the county, and we sadly have 98 deaths. Our positivity rate from February the 20th to February the 26th was at 7%. The week before it was at 12.9%, so as you can see it is declining and everything. Just a couple of things I have and stuff now. The CDC has issued a new app, more or less, that tells what each county is in. You have a low, you have a medium, and you have a high range. Anson County is currently in a medium range, which specifies basically that is based on the hospitalization beds being used, hospital administration, and the total of new COVID cases is how the medium is determined. There has been a couple of changes as far as the Moderna vaccine that we currently carry. They have decided now if you receive your first shot, then you will wait 8 weeks until you receive your second shot. Where before you got it after 4 weeks. So they're trying to see the span being a little longer to see actually how long it will last. We currently give the Moderna shot on Thursdays. We do it from 8:30 to 11 and then 1 to 3. We were doing it 2 days a week, but we have seen a decline in people wanting the vaccine. So we decided to cut back to just 1 day a week. So that way we can start our general services back for our family planning and maternity and different things. So, and currently we are doing the Pfizer shots for 5 to 11 on Wednesday afternoons, but those are by appointment only. There's a lot of talk in the media about the spring booster shots and stuff now. We currently have not received any notification from the state, from the CDC, from anybody about having the spring vaccinations and stuff now. We're thinking more in the fall, probably it may come up and stuff now, but right now we have received nothing about any kind of boosters coming up in the spring. We currently still do have the COVID testing located in the old hospital parking lot. We have been told that they may only be there until the end of March, but we haven't got that final to say if it will happen or not and stuff need on. So they say it, they usually set a date and then it's extended, but right now it's saying the end of March, but we are going to verify that with the top people and stuff now, and then of course we will let everybody know once we know more. Like Commissioner Sturdivant said earlier, we have the N95 mask and we also have the COVID at-home test kits. So if anybody would like to, the community or anybody would like to stop by the health department, come by Monday through Friday, anytime, just close for lunch from 12 to 1. And that's all I have. If you have any questions.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we end the mask mandate in Anson County like the state has done and make the mask optional for county employees and for public as they enter the building. Right now we're making the public wait outside because we don't want to have more than a certain number of people inside. The state's ending the mandate, other states are ending the mandate that have higher numbers than we. And so I would make the motion that for county buildings, county employees, that we would end the mask mandate.
Okay, now the mask mandate, but then there's social distancing involved too. Is that been done away with?
What I was making, I'm calling it the mask mandate. I should call it the COVID mandate then, to cover anything that we're doing based on COVID. The temperature at the door, making people wait outside, and the mask itself. So to clarify, I would say end the COVID mandates in county buildings.
Just one thing you'll have to remember though and stuff now, it's still, there are certain guidelines that the CDC is recommending that if somebody tests positive, you still have to continue to wear that mask for 5 days. So you have to watch how you word it. I mean, as long as you have no, you know, symptoms or anything like that, no, then that's fine to do that, no.
Then it's clarified to follow the CDC guidelines in the ending of the COVID mandate.
That was one of the reasons I was asking the questions, and I guess that kind of puts something out there in my mind, is you'll be relying on the honor system, you won't have any clue
That's
as to
exactly
who's
right.
coming in and what kind of shape they're in, that kind of thing, but, you know, if the board wants to go in that direction, I don't have a problem, just thought I need to put that out there.
Mis-
Okay, Commissioner Gatewood.
Mr. Chairman, I understand exactly where Commissioner Brickett is coming from, but I'm a little concerned. I'd rather give it another 30 days, another month, and address it at our next meeting.
Okay, Commissioner Sturman.
And I agree with Mr. Gatewood, and then this is what, Commissioner Brickett, we have to look at, we don't have a representative here from the senior citizens. That should be, them, over there, at the health department in different places. Those senior citizens, me, you ain't as healthy, got underlying conditions.
Thanks for sharing that with me.
You know, don't play with me. That's something we need to wait on. I don't care what Governor Cooper said, I still believe that some places, people need to wear their mask. And that should be a, individual thing anyway. I know them ladies come in contact with everything at that health department. I am over there at that senior center building. I know they come in contact with it. The department head over there caught COVID from some of the people that came in now.
Well,
Yeah.
we're aboard, and if y'all decide not to do it, that's what it's all about, so.
My vote is no.
My vote isn't no. I would suggest we wait until the next meeting and see how things progress and address it at that time.
The only thing, I'm like, Ms. Sturman said, I'd be concerned about down at the health departments and those places.
DSS too. Some women, down at DSS, they
Yep,
have people
you're right.
in and out of there all the time, and they
It's
don't
just us,
turn down
what?
nobody. And people won't be honest with you.
Okay, let's proceed in this manner then. Commissioner Brickett has made the, motion. If he doesn't get a second, it dies for lack of a second, and that'll give us the opportunity to do the 30 days that's been asked. Or you can withdraw your motion.
I'll leave it out, but I respect y'all's decision.
In that case, then, he has made the motion, is there a second? If here none, the motion fails for lack of a second. And we'll come back at our April meeting.
If it wasn't for them, I'd vote with you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for doing the wonderful job you do.
Thank you, ma'am, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Very kind, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that brings us down to item 5, administrative matters, and 5A is the RFQs for water and sewer system assessment. They start on page 51. So I don't know if Mr. Connor, you wanna speak to those?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I can do that. There are 3 proposals in your packet from 3 different engineering firms, Hazen and Sawyer, McGill, and LKC. We have 3 staff members, including myself, rated each of those engineering firms. Every person that rated felt that each of the firms could do the job and do the job well. However, the top rated firm was Hazen and Sawyer. If I recall, each of the 3 had them at the top, but any of the 3 we felt could do the job.
Okay, I don't know if any of the commissioners have any questions. I think at this point we're off to select one of these firms.
I like that first one.
Hazen and Sawyer,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
That's
I
the
will
one I
make
like.
that motion that we accept.
We've had trouble
Their
with McGill
proposal.
before, haven't we?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Sturman, and I believe Commissioner Mims to, select
I put a
Hazen
second on
and
it
Sawyer,
too.
Dr. Sims. Any further discussion?
I read through all of that, and they had those scores, you know, like, most of them, one was 99, one was 94, none of them were below 90.
Okay, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. The, firm selected is Hazen and Sawyer. Okay, item 5 is the landfill advisory committee. I think we still have 2, commissioners, of which I'm one. I'm waiting on a response from my individual. So at this point, what we decided, we'd wait till we get all 7 members, and then we would approve the committee and put it in place. So that should happen hopefully by the next meeting. Okay, item 5C, ABC referendum. Mr. County Attorney, I think you're gonna speak to this, so.
I can, Your Honor. That's why I've been in court all week. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Again, sorry. If you'll recall, last meeting, the board voted to, send over a written notification to the Board of Elections, asking them to put on the ballot the required language for us to get a malt beverage and liquor license, in here, or alcohol referendum here to, Anson County. I believe we have some sample language that I would like, and that we could get, forwarded to them, and that would be up to the statute to put the proper language in there. We can, the biggest thing is, we have to decide if we wanna put all 3 in there like we did last time to have all the language on there, or do we want to, condense it under the language and just ask for one thing. It appears that under 18B/602H mixed beverage elections, the ballot for mixed beverage elections shall state the proposition as follows: to permit the sale of mixed beverages in hotels, restaurants, private clubs, community theaters, and convention centers, and the on-premises and off-premises sale of malt beverage and unfortified wine in qualified establishments, to vote for and against. That is the language I would suggest that we request officially from the Board of Commissioners, from the Board of Elections, by the Commissioners.
Okay.
I would make a motion to go with the 18B/602H as Attorney Forbes advised.
Okay, and I think the other thing too is we have to adopt a resolution to do that, I believe, for the, rather than just writing a letter to the Board of Elections. I think we have to adopt a resolution to that effect, per the statute. So that's neither here nor there. As long as we know what we have to do and we know how we want it worded, that can be done.
I will draft a resolution, and I will have that for you, and I'll put this language in there.
Okay, we got the, motion from Commissioner Bricken. Is there a second?
I second.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sturr, Commissioner Gatewood, to, approve the, ABC, the resolution and the wording of the, ABC referendum as pointed out by our county attorney. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous.
I don't participate in drinking alcoholic beverages, but I think people should have the opportunity to vote on it.
All right. Okay. I agree. Okay, now we're down to item 6, appointments. 6A is the, library board, and we're asked to appoint, Ms. Judy Curtis to San Hill Regional Library System Board of Trustees.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Sturman. I heard somebody else, Commissioner Mims.
And Mr. Smith.
Okay, and Commissioner Smith to appoint Ms. Judy Curtis to the San Hill Regional Library System Board of Trustees. Any further discussion?
Just mention the fact that I'm the board's representative for the library board, and, you might wanna be considering who you want to replace me, cause I'll be gone in November.
Okay, all right, anyone else? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, it is unanimous. Ms. Curtis is, appointed to the San Hill Regional Library System Board of Directors, Board of Trustees, I'm sorry. Okay, item 6B is the Board of Equalization and Review. And, that is, asking, I think that's from Commissioner Mims' district, to appoint Mr. Larry Lyles to the Board of Equalization and Review.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Mr. Larry Lyles.
Second.
Okay, Motion by Commissioner Sturman, seconded by Commissioner Mims to appoint, Mr. Larry Lyles to the Board of Equalization and Review. Any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. Mr. Larry Lyles is appointed to the Board of Equalization and Review, representing District 3. Okay, Mr. Ponder, item 7, the manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have several items to cover, the first of which is the budget process for the upcoming budget. Mr. Allen set the plan, I guess, in motion. All department requests are due in today. Those have been received. Ms. Berry is going to be putting that in some format for me to review. I had some discussions with Chairman Woodburn about the need for the board to have, if retreat's not the right word, at least some type of budget kickoff meeting in the near future, the next few weeks. The date that we had talked about is perhaps March 8th, which would be next week sometime, to give me some guidance on your priorities. I've talked with some of you about priorities. It would be nice if the board could reach some consensus on what you want your budget to look like. So hopefully you can schedule something to that effect in the near future. In the meantime, reviewing the department requests will be keeping me busy. Beyond that, I'm trying to set aside time from the middle of March probably through the middle of April to meet with department directors. While I have a lot of budget experience in cities and counties, I don't have any budget experience here. And so I feel I owe it to the department's directors to meet with them, understand their requests, understand their needs, what's new, what's old, that type of thing, before I recommend any cuts to what they're proposing. And then once that's concluded and I begin to reach some feeling for where we're at in terms of revenues and expenditures, have kind of follow-up discussion with the board at either at a regular meeting or a separate meeting before I finalize the budget request and present it to you. At this point, I'm establishing that your June meeting date would be the time I would present the budget. I know that may be a little late in the process. It was certainly later than last year's process. But at this point, while I think we'll have a good understanding of expenditures here in the near future, I think we're still trying to sort our way through our revenue situation. So if you see fit, I'd like to push the actual presentation off as far as possible.
That's a presentation of the initial budget for our approval or review.
That would be my formal presentation to you. Hopefully I will be in a position to update the board earlier than that on where we're at.
Okay.
But the formal presentation of the budget and of course the public hearing, or public hearings, in most entities I've worked at in the past, there's usually a public hearing that's continued, so the public has kind of multiple opportunities to give input on that. But that's kind of what I'm looking at generally for a budget schedule over the next 4 months. Of course, I'll follow whatever direction the board gives me. But that's kind of where I'm at on the budget process.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend that we have our commissioners meeting on Tuesday, March 8th, if that's available. If not, Monday the 7th.
Okay. I've heard Ms. Sturman say she wouldn't be able to make it on the 8th. Anybody else the 8th doesn't work for? What about the 7th?
How long a meeting we talking about? Regular meeting?
I would say 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm thinking a couple, 2 or 3 hours, because they're gonna go through all of it.
What time of day? 'Cause my wife has a lot of doctor's appointments.
I'm available anytime the board's available.
I'm available anytime.
Yeah.
Well, I might be, I might not. You said it was convenient for the rest of it. 'Cause I won't be here when the next budget goes in anyway, long.
Ms. Sturman, I think it can be later in the afternoon, like starting at 2 o'clock, or is that too early?
I have a meeting, my San Hills meeting's on that Tuesday.
That's in, I do, I have something else. Is it another day convenient for you, Mr.?
I'm available to the board whenever you need me. I'm at your disposal.
Anything but eight for me is fine.
I can't do the 7 and 8.
Can't do 7th or 8th, okay.
Okay.
What about 9th, 10th, or 11th? That Wednesday,
Okay,
Thursday, or
what
Friday?
you say March the 11th, that Friday?
I can't do the.
I can't do
You can't do
Thursday.
the 11th.
All right.
What about the ninth? Is everybody good with the ninth?
Ninth, I can
Yes,
do.
sir.
What day is that, Friday?
No, that's on a Wednesday.
On Wednesday?
But I
Oh.
would have to do it that morning. We have to start about 9 and be through around 12 or 1, something like that.
That'll work.
Mr. Mills, is that good for you?
That's good for me.
Is that good for you, Miss? What
I
about
think
you?
so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
you do Wednesday morning.
Not sure, but I think so.
okay.
Mr. Smith be very.
Some days I have 4 days a week tied up.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so mark your calendars for March the 9th at, I'll just say 9 a.m.
Yes, sir.
for our retreat. Okay, all right, thank you.
Would that be here?
Well, last time I think we did one, we did a cooperative extension, but we can do it here too. It's not
I would say do it right here, in
Okay.
case they need some
I'm in
information.
favor of here.
okay, we'll do it here,
This county will take good care of us.
Yes.
What time you said it start, Mr. Woodward?
9 a.m.
Is that breakfast time?
Uh-oh.
9 o'clock? I can wait.
Nice try, Ms. Sturtevant.
All right, that's good.
Did say 9 o'clock, didn't it?
9 a.m., yes, sir. Okay.
Breakfast at 9.
Oh, she remind you, you will get them phone
Oh,
calls.
she'll call me.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Mr. Ponder.
Yes, the second item is the Great Broadband Grant Program. There's a memo in your packet, that's been prepared. I won't go into all of the details, but I think the good news is that, at a conference call with, Charter Communications, or Governmental Affairs, Michael Tank, I believe that's how it's pronounced. And, they are pursuing grant funding for the, expansion of broadband into the county, and was out of several different, or 2 different, grant pots of money. And they would like for us to, work with them, partner with them in helping bring those grants into the county and expanding the broadband program. And they would like for not only us to partner with them, but to place a maximum match money of $250,000 out of the American Rescue Plan Fund.
Okay.
And to that end, and I think if I'm not mistaken, the charter would be contributing about $750,000 towards that grant effort. So I'm requesting the board make a motion to approve the partnering with Spectrum to pursue these grant funds with a maximum match amount from the county of $250,000 out of the American Rescue Plan Fund.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion that we partner with Spectrum and deliver a match of $250,000 max.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Mims, and Dr. Sims to approve to partner with Spectrum to, go after the, Great Broadband Grant for Anson County with a maximum expenditure match of, $250,000. Okay. Any further discussion?
Well, we need to get in with the modern times.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think we found out just how critical broadband is in Anson County with the COVID, when the kids were out of school and they needed access to the internet and didn't have it. I knew we had a problem with broadband in the county, but I didn't realize it was as bad as it was until that happened, so. Okay, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. We will partner with Spectrum for, the great grant, and our expenditure will not exceed $250,000 for the matches and stuff.
And that match will come from the American Rescue
Plan, yes.
Plan funds.
How wide, county-wide is this program? Is it limited to a certain amount, or is it from one end to the other?
The process, and again, part of this is they've requested that we sign a non-disclosure agreement. So I personally did not get into details of the mapping they have, because they want, I guess that type of confidential information kept confidential. So I don't know that I know the details of where they plan to pursue their.
We got that. We got that information. I'm trying to think. We got that information, I think, Spectrum and Windstream had the largest portion of the county. I want to think Spectrum might have been the largest, and Windstream came in second. Matter of fact, we kicked this off and, we kinda got, low bidded on, and that's why it's just now moving. But there's a map that shows with each one of the providers in the areas that they have said that they're going after. And, Spectrum is the only one that's come forward and said that they're ready to move. Nobody else is really, Windstream has it, which, as I understand it, for lack of a better term, this is their territory. And the other one, they had a much smaller area, but they've not approached us even. But I think Spectrum's ready to go with this thing, so we need to move on.
Cause there's a lot of fluctuation. Some areas have really horrible coverage and some have pretty good, so if we could try to concentrate on those horrible areas, if there's any way to do that in prioritization, that would be something to consider, you know.
I'm not sure how much, we can get them to alter their plan, they put it out there, but we'll just have to see as it unfolds.
Yeah.
And then offer our input as it goes. Okay, Mr. Ponder.
Mr. Chairman, the last thing I have is regarding, charging electric, station. Again, there's a memo in your packet, but it was my understanding that the board was very interested in replacing the electric charging station that was relocated from the PD facility that we've recently acquired. There is a grant program to pursue funding for that, and it's my intent to communicate with Central Iowa Region Council on pursuing the grant application for that. So it's my hope that at your next meeting, we'll be in a position to get you to approve that grant application.
Will that be paid for totally by the grant?
We're not sure at this point in time.
We don't have a lot of electric cars.
But Dr. Sims, soon we'll have more as time progresses.
Oh, I agree with that, but I'm just wondering if the grant's gonna, if it costs us several $100,000, it's different if it costs us $10,000.
So I think it's like roughly around $20,000 the cost of it.
I live in here.
So I'll have more information for you at your April meeting on that. Hopefully, be in a position where the board will approve the application.
Thank you.
In fact, Dr. Sims, my next car will be an electric vehicle. I'm working on it right now.
I think the other
Take me
plus-
for a ride in it.
I will. I think the other plus for this project is all the infrastructure is already there, we just need to get the charger.
That's what I thought.
Sit
I
it
thought
in.
we already had a charging station there.
Well, the PD Electric had it, but before we got into discussions with them about getting that one, they'd already made their plans to move to the new
Oh, I
location.
didn't realize. I read it, and I just assumed it was still there.
Okay, so Mr. Ponder, you have anything?
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Okay. All right, well, next is the chairman's report. Y'all get a break tonight. I really don't have anything. So. So,
I tell you, we have got a good chairman.
yes, thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, we're now down to item 9, commissioners' concerns, petitions, announcement, and comments, and 9A, Dr. Sims, if you have something on litter.
Yes, I do. Now, excuse me if I take a minute or two longer. Brought it up many times. I have to say thank you to Mr. Woodburn and a guy named, who is our very fine chairman, and a guy named Mr. Rogers, I believe it was Kerry Rogers, down the southern part of my district, for bringing this to my attention and giving me some of this information. As you know, I brought up trash a great number of times. We got it everywhere and anywhere. A large part of it is bottles. Either glass bottles or plastic bottles. Most of the paper will just disintegrate. But these cans and bottles, are everywhere. They are along my road. I get out and pick them up. Some of you do the same thing, I'm sure. We're gonna need some research by Mr. Forbes as what state laws or state help we'll need and what other counties are doing, but just off the top of my head now, I would say, remember when you were young, maybe it was just me, but we were so poor, me and my grandmother, $43 a month. I had to sell bottles, 2 cents a piece.
Yeah, I remember.
And I remember exactly what they cost. And if the adults don't care, the children will turn those bottles in. And I'd like to see us consider a deposit on beer bottles, all kind of alcoholic bottles, beer cans, and pop bottles. I'm talking about Coke, Pepsi, whatever. You'd have to differentiate, it seems to me, between the glass bottles and the plastic bottles, because somebody buying water, say 24 bottle pack, you wouldn't want to put the same price per bottle on that as you did for a 6-pack of Budweiser. Even though I think I own a stock in that one.
You talking about us buying the bottles?
No, I'm talking about, let me go a little farther. Let's assume that you do 25 cents for glass bottles and 10 cents for plastic bottles, and make certain prices on plastic bottles after you get a certain number. Because even at 10 cents, you bought 24 pack, that'd be $2.40. That's a lot of money. And if the adults don't care about something 10 cents a piece, I guarantee the young people will. They'll gather those bottles. If there's any out there like I was, they'll get them. I used to go house to house. But anyway, pass it going on. I have been told that we need to have a high enough price to get people's attention. And yet at the same time, we've got to be reasonable. Need to think about, should you give the store a certain portion of what the deposit would be for handling the thing. And then you got to have pickup, the landfill could pick up. And I bet you anything, if we pass something like that, you get a recycling firm right here in Anson County. We had one in Peachtree for a while, they just didn't have enough business. But if you started doing this, I bet we'd have somebody to recycle it. And we're gonna have to do something to remove this trash, and that's just my thought of one way of doing it. And I'd say let Mr. Forbes talk to other counties, see if they got any programs in. The state of Michigan is the one Mr. Rogers mentioned to me and Mr. Woodman. So you might want to check with the state of Michigan. Any questions?
And actually, there are several states, I think it's about half a dozen or so of them that have this legislation in place. So I think we need to look at it and work with our legislators.
Yeah, let's be a
Mr.
leader for a
Brody
while.
and Senator McKinnis to see if we can get some momentum going there. I think that, we talked about littering. It's recognized that across the state and across the country, litter is becoming more and more of a problem. So if it's possible, we get something in place that to at
Let
least get
people
something
follow
going.
Anson County.
But I'm still confused. Where is the money? Okay, you said if somebody collect it, they get 10 cents a bottle or something. Who will pay them?
I can
Store.
Okay, just say I go IGA, Food Line, or wherever I go, and I buy a 12-pack of sodas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if it's 10 cents per can, I'm gonna pay an extra $1.20 for that 12-pack. Okay, that's my incentive to make sure I keep track of them 12 cans. So when they all empty, I take them back to Food Line, IGA, or wherever I got them from, and get my money back.
There you go.
Get that.
The store would charge you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the store's gonna charge me.
Store would charge and the store would get the money. And you could even arrange and let the store keep a small percentage for the handling of the bottles. You don't like it?
I don't see people doing it. Dr. Silverman, you know me.
I said the people wouldn't, but the kids will.
No, they won't.
You don't think
sure
so?
What?
Must not be any poor kids
$2
anymore.
No child getting out with no bottle for $2. Not the children now.
You might be right, you know more about it than I do.
Yeah, and they walk around with better phones than we got.
You're right there.
They ain't gonna do no $2.
I think it's this point is worth investigating, So we would charge, county attorney and Mr. Ponder to investigate this and see where we need to go with it. And, that's the other thing, I've looked at some of the states that have this, and they put this money that you pay to the store when you buy that product, if you don't go back and get it, they put it in in a category, I think, of lost revenue or something, but then it becomes the state's money, so. So, I mean, there's some ins and outs to it. Okay, Mr.
I wouldn't want that.
Lady people all around, just picking up cans and things on a little truck or something.
Oh, yeah, those are people that just, they're just picking up trash. There's no value other than they're just cleaning up trash.
It doesn't work all that well. There's just too few people and too much trash.
Okay, Mr. Forbes?
In New York City, they do have actually machines. It looks like an ATM machine where you can pick up the cans and deposit them in there.
Sounds good.
That's what they do there, so.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the volume is on that, but that's what they do.
When the aluminum price is up, you'll see people picking up cans. Yeah.
Okay, all right, that brings us down to item 9B.
When the aluminum price is up at the scrapyard.
Commissioner Brinken, I think some type of architectural assessment to determine, what buildings are suitable for use at the middle school.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if we might be interested in posting an RFQ, to seek an architectural firm rather than an engineering firm. This would be more architectural, to come in and evaluate the middle school buildings and see if there's any square footage that are salvageable, cause eventually we're gonna have to either tear down the middle school when the relocation takes place. But if we can look at any of the buildings, square footage that may be salvageable for future government, occupation, building for employees, whatever, just to make sure that that's not something we wanna consider. It is possible that some of that building around the administrative office could be fixed up, and it's gonna cost us a lot of money to tear it down. So I'd kinda like to at least look at the option of putting some of that money to tear it down into fixing some of it up. And so I would make a motion that we put out an RFQ for an architectural firm to just come in, look at the middle school building and tell us if there's any salvageable space that we might be interested in using.
Since I was in the school business, I happen to know a little bit about it. The building, as you face the road that sits sort of behind the gym and the other building, is 20 years younger than the original school. That building might be salvaged, but I don't know. When I retired, I got out of the school business completely. I did serve one term on the Board of Education, excuse me.
Okay, we have a motion from, Commissioner Brinken to get an architectural firm to do an assessment on the, middle school to determine what conditions the buildings are in. Is that correct?
Yes.
And,
whether they could be used for future space for government employees.
I'd second that, but I wanna say to Mr. Gatewood, I want, a new building for his cause, just like always.
okay,
Now, Mr. Brinken and I were thinking along the same lines. However, my recommendation would be to use COVID funds to demolish those buildings. Just clear the lot, and then we can use that property for future business, purposes.
Sounds like a winner too, I'm flexible.
okay, at this point, we've got a motion from Commissioner Brinken, second from, Commissioner, Dr. Sims, to bring in, an architectural firm to get an assessment of the, condition of the property at the middle school. And, well, just another point of discussion, we wanna find out what they're gonna charge first before we.
Well, in the request for qualification, that's not committing to going forward with it. It just tells them they're gonna present us with what they would be willing to do, and then we can talk about price. If it's too much, then we tell them no.
Okay.
But if it doesn't cost a lot, it would make us all feel better if we tear it down, that we know that nothing was salvageable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay, any other questions, any other discussion? All in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign?
Opposed.
Okay, we have two commissioners opposing, Commissioner Gatewood, okay, Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Sturtevant opposed. Anyone else?
I voted for it, but I'm totally flexible, whatever the entire board wants to do.
Okay, at this point, it passes 4-3. And actually.
Can we have a show of hands, please? As a point of order?
Now, all we're doing is finding out what the value or the approximate use that it could be used for. Is that correct, Mr. Rick?
That's right, we're not committing to anything.
We're not committing to use it for anything, right?
No, and if they say it's not salvageable or.
Right, even,
Yeah.
Well, is they gonna charge us to even do that?
No, first we get the request for qualification, they'll tell us what they're capable of doing, and then we get to decide if we wanna move forward. We're not committing to any money in this motion, just other than we find out if an architectural firm, what their capability can come in, look at the building, this is what we can do for you, and then we can talk about a price. If y'all think it's too high, then we just say no.
Mr. Gatewood, could you use COVID money for that?
Yes.
I'm sure you could, very
That's what I
definitely.
thought.
You could also
It'd
use.
be too expensive.
If you look at the dates on those buildings. and
Yeah,
how
one of them, the one I was talking about is a lot younger than the others.
Yes, sir, that school has been there.
But there's lots,
68.
there's lots of old buildings, look at our courthouse, I mean, it's a lot older
It
than
need to
school.
be demolished too, boo.
Let me say this, and we're gonna move on. I toured that school, and basically, what I learned in that tour was that the part of the school that houses the gym, that part is structurally deficient.
Same way with the parts of the
band room,
to the right of
the
it.
band room and the cafeteria, they have issues that make
Yep.
them not worth trying to do
They
anything
not
with.
use the H building at all.
Well, this H
Oh,
building.
that's the one I was talking about,
No,
might be all
well,
right.
whatever
got
that
H building.
building, go down,
Yeah, H
You know
building
what
is
you
one
wanna
that's
talk
newer,
about when you
so
go
they're
in.
not using it at all.
they not using that building, the newest one out there,
Right,
they can't
okay.
even use it now.
That's the
Mr.
one I
Rick.
thought might be worth something, but it's
No,
not.
it's not, no, it's
Okay.
not.
See,
You
I
can
haven't been
smell
out there,
the
I don't
mold
know.
in there. They had to move those teachers out and put them up there in A building in smaller classrooms. Go visit it.
I did visit it. They
If
took
you
me
didn't-
around.
And they didn't tell you the H building, the backside is totally closed.
Well, the part
I
that,
didn't know what
the
it
part that they,
Well, I call it that.
the part they allowed me to come in the office there where you sign in, and then I went out through both parallel hallways there and around. That's the building I went in.
That's all, A and B.
Yeah.
Go to the other one.
But we can even pick out what we want them to look at. If you're sure that other building's not salvageable, then we don't have to waste their time or our money on it. We can just pick out. Okay.
Okay,
Show a hand.
and apparently, things have changed since I was out there. Back when I went out and toured, they were moving students from one building to the other, because sometimes that building wasn't suitable. Then once it was, they put them back in there, so,
Can we,
but
can we just table this till next month, and we all just get a chance to go out and look, and then make a firm decision from that point?
well, we've already got a motion and a second, and it passed, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Attorney. Can we back up on that? Can he rescind his motion and take the second back?
You ain't gonna rescind.
What do we do?
Proper procedure, we can move forward. However, I believe you can re-vote anytime you want to, but I'm not.
You're right. We need to get we get another motion then to not do the action we just voted to do. That was a part of a procedural class I was in. Once the motion's done and passed, it's set. But you come back, you can do a motion to do the opposite, but it's got to be done by, get me straight. It's got to be done by the people that voted in the majority, is that correct?
I did not hear you.
If you're gonna redo a motion, it has to be done by the people that voted in the majority, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so,
Help me a little bit, what's the loss in just checking?
Pardon?
What are we losing by just checking to see if any of it's any good? What are we losing?
we don't lose anything, there's no funds committed, once we get the RFQ, we decide then to
Yeah.
proceed.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting ready to straighten that out. I mean, I tell you what, based on what I'm hearing and what's happening, the motion passed 4-3, and I think Commissioner Gatewood wanted a show of hands. So the four commissioners voted in favor. All right, the three that voted against,
What's in favor of?
To get an RFQ for an architectural firm to, look at what it would take to, or what condition that building's in. And we're not satisfied with what they wanna charge, we don't have to do anything.
I thought you said we're gonna go out there personally look at it.
Well, that was what
What
was,
is the cost?
that was
See, really
suggested.
what it is school board decision.
Well, they decide whether they want it or not, but. So at this point, where we are, is we'll proceed with getting RFQ. And at whatever point that happens, and if there's more to it than we need to do what we wanna do, we can vote it down at that time. It's fairness, so it's easier to.
But when the school is abandoned, will it still be a school board decision? Cause once they relocate, won't that become our decision?
Not automatic, they'll more than likely give it up because they won't need it.
They'd have to give it up.
Cause I think, okay, that's what I thought they were gonna do.
Okay, we'll move on to, we'll come back to Commissioner Sturgill. We'll move down to item 9D, Commissioner Gatewood, COVID funds and some, I think you have a couple of suggestions you use that fund for.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have on my list using COVID funds to demolish the middle school property once it's vacated, and using that land, that property for county offices that we need, such as DSS, and in the future, we're gonna need a larger health department building. And they've got over 20 acres of land there, prime land, flat land, and it would be a very good location.
All right.
Demolition now would include, and I haven't been out there in a long time, but it would include, I assume, all that football stadium and all that behind it.
It would have to, Dr. Steele.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I'm just saying there'd be right much money involved.
Sure. I did a Google search on demolition costs around the U.S. for middle and high schools, and it ranges anywhere from $400,000 up to $1.5 million.
I thought it'd be a lot of money.
And I'm thinking here in Anson County, we're probably looking at around $750,000 to do it.
All right.
But that's just based on a preliminary search.
Okay.
The other item I have is using COVID funding to pay for the PD electric building. We paid $575,000 for that facility. Half the funds coming from our general fund and half coming from the utilities fund. Why don't we just combine
I like that.
and use COVID money to pay for that building?
Good thinking. That's the man that picks up pennies. I pick them up too.
I was gonna sell some bottles too, Dr. Sims. but-
Oh, you did? I know Miss Durbin knows about selling bottles, despite what she said.
You said it was a good idea, I said the kids did that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Mr. Chairman,
I
I
have
would
seen
like
with
to
those
put that in the
telephones.
form of a motion, that we use COVID money to pay for the PD electric building.
Okay, we've got a motion from, Commissioner Gatewood to use COVID funds.
If we had more flexibility with that other money we saved.
To pay for the PD electric building, and, okay, do we get a second?
Second.
Second by, Commissioner Mims. Any further discussion? I think the only thing I would say is we have to have the county, I know the county has actually already paid for it. So we need to look at the ins and outs of I know there's some stipulations on putting that money in your general fund and that kind of thing, so before we just jump up and do that, I think the county manager and his staff needs to investigate all the ins and outs of, can that be done without the county getting in trouble from that, for lack of a better term?
You can't get a refund?
It's not all over.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be part of that investigation. If that's the only way to do it, then we'll have to have some discussion with PD Electric, get a check back, and then give them another one from, COVID funds. Okay, anything else? Oh, wait a minute.
On the motion.
Okay, we got the, motion and the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion carried, it is unanimous.
The other observation, suggestion that I have, Mr. Chairman, Board, we've had some very significant expenses in our finance department relative to personnel, relative to contract services, purchasing special equipment. And I believe all of those expenses should be okay to pay COVID funds with
You
them.
finna spend all that money before I spend it somewhere now.
Well, but the thing is,
Mr. Gatewood.
well, think about it. We're gonna spend probably $300 to $500,000 in the finance department dealing with getting all our finances in order, all our books in order, and it's a very important project. And then number two, we had the ransomware attack, and we had some special expenses there. If we could bundle those and pay for them with COVID money, then that would leave us more flexibility in our general fund.
Okay, let's, general funds for the health, right, but let's do this as a suggestion. We've got a retreat coming up on the 9th of March. Each commissioner is charged to think about what we'd like to do with that ARP fund. And, maybe we can put together a plan there. And that way, it put, whatever you got on your mind, what I got on my mind, whoever else has got something on their mind and use that money, Commissioner Sturman, we'll put it on the table at that time.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Figure out the best use for the money.
All right.
Okay? That takes care of, item 9. You didn't have anything else to do?
Well, yes, I did. But this is real quick. I just wanted to welcome Mr. Ponder. I spent an hour and a half with him last week in orientation, excellent discussion. And before that meeting, I looked him up on Google.
Okay.
Back in 2013, I believe, the existing county manager in Gaston County abruptly retired, quit, whatever you want to call it, and they said, Phil Ponder, Phil Ponder, he's the man for the job, and they spoke very highly. So we've made a good decision, excellent decision in my estimation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Welcome to Anson County.
Glad to be here, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
If you mess up, we're gonna introduce you to Mr. Smith.
You don't want that.
All right.
You do not want that.
Okay. All right, that takes care of, item 9, and, just reiterate on behalf of the board what Commissioner Gatewood said, Mr. Ponder, we do welcome you, look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, when we actually do have a closed session to consult with the attorney, is that correct, or do we not?
Yes, we do, yes.
We do?
So that's when I bring up my item.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
We have a closed session to consult with the attorney per North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, parentheses 8.3.
Make a motion, we go into closed session.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, seconded by, Commissioner Dr. Sims to go into closed session. Any discussion? All in favor, let me know by sign. Motion carried, it is unanimous. We are accepting the agreement.
All right.
Okay, I think that brings us to the end of our agenda. At this time, we will need a motion to recess until March the 9th at 9 a.m.
So moved.
I second it.
Okay, we got a motion from, Commissioner Dr. Sims, seconded by Commissioner Sturman to recess until March the 9th at 9 a.m.